Professor. How do you feel about this?
Welcome to Flip the Script, where we challenge the status quo in long-term care communities and dementia support from a fresh perspective. This podcast is brought to you by Aging Maine Geriatric Workforce Enhancement Program and the Cedars, an older adult living community located in the heart of Portland, Maine. And I'm your host, Angie Hunt, Chief Innovation Officer at the Cedars and an older adult advocate. And today we're diving into a topic that profoundly impacts the lives of many residents in long-term care communities, boredom. And boredom is one of the three nursing home plagues, a term coined by Dr. Bill Thomas, a renowned geriatrician and advocate for older adult reform. Alongside loneliness and helplessness, boredom can significantly affect the mental and physical well-being of your residents and can be a major cause of unhappiness among residents. And joining me today are Betty Hensley, a long-term care resident of the Cedars, and Nick Vitti, a licensed occupational therapist, certified dementia care practitioner, and certified positive approach to care instructor. Nick is the life enrichment manager at the Cedars. So I'd like to start with setting the stage. So Betty, I'd like to ask you in general, do you think boredom is a prevalent issue among nursing home residents today?
Well, I don't see too much of it myself, but I know people do get bored. I try to keep busy, and I think they all want to do something. A lot of them, women crochet, knit, make jewelry, and we all like going down and painting that they do downstairs, and we make a lot of things, and I still got things hanging up from way back, and we did a good job. It was very nice. Everybody enjoyed it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, because you bring it back to your room and put it up, and you did it yourself.
Yeah, and you can talk about it to everybody, huh? When your family comes in and that.
That you made something.
So it sounds like it's really important to keep active in a long-term care community.
Exactly.
And keep the residents active in a long-term care. You know, if people, like on the weekends or in the evenings, do you feel that boredom is a problem in a long-term care community?
Not here. I haven't found it here. Because somebody always wants to do something.
Sure.
And they're always playing cards, or they'll play the bingo or some game. I'll go to the movies, which is wonderful.
Yeah. And you talked a little about family members coming in on the weekend. Can you tell me a little more about that?
They all love seeing the family, of course. And but I think they do take them out for a little walk, which is you let them do that, and they push them in the carriage, yeah, whatever, and it makes, and then they bring the family dog in, that's everybody's happy.
Yes, everybody loves to see the pets. That's
yeah.
A highlight of their day, huh?
Oh, they love it.
Yes. And like people that don't, like on the weekends, have their families come in, you know, how do you think that is, do you think that they feel bored during the weekend? And how do you think that would affect them?
Well, so far, I think we do something on the weekend, like the bingo. They all like that. People that never played it before. And they really enjoy it because it's simple. You make some money or you win candy or whatever you want, and that makes everybody happy. It keeps them busy. I'm not sure about the card games. I think we did play a few. And we do which I think everybody loves, is a crossword puzzle on the TV.
Yep.
They all like that.
Yeah, doing those word kind of games. It's good for your mind, huh?
Very good.
Keeps your mind thinking and that.
I never did them, but I enjoy it so much now.
Oh, that's great.
And Harvey loves it. He's good at it. And they all pitch in, and and they're just so happy when they got an answer.
Of course, like winning at something is always a good feeling. And I think it's also important that you do it as a group, don't you?
As a group,
So you
you're
get
right.
to talk to everybody and be social.
And then everybody goes like this to whoever gets the answer, and everybody's happy.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, do you have any recommendations for like staff that work at other long-term care communities about keeping residents active?
To get to know the person and to see what they like to do. Ask them what games they'd like to play. Be personal, know what they want to do. Go out, sit on the patio or whatever. What games they like to play. People like playing checkers. And I remember another game they play with marbles. They used to jump over.
Oh, right.
I'm not sure what that was called, but they love games.
Yes.
And they like being busy.
But you made a really good point about knowing what people really think is meaningful or what activities are important to them, right?
Right.
And that's what makes it so much fun for them, too.
They would
Right.
enjoy that, yes.
And trying some new things. Sometimes trying new things is good, too, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
People that didn't do things before.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Nick, can you tell us a little about activities at the Cedars and what have you found most effective in your practice and working with the residents?
Well, I think Betty hit it right on the head. It's really important to be person-centered and find out what the preferences are of the people you're working with. And so when we know what people like to do or what people used to like to do, then we can, provide those opportunities. And Betty was talking about being social and how important that is. So something like a crossword is not necessarily inherently social, and it's something that now some residents may have difficulty doing on their own. But by making it a social activity, people feel successful and they're also connecting with their neighbors. I think that being successful is really important. And as an occupational therapist, we would call that the just right challenge, something that is not too easy, that it then becomes boring, and not too hard, that it then becomes frustrating. So you hit that just right challenge. It's hard enough to feel that you feel accomplished when you're successful at it. I think meeting the residents where they are, like getting help on making that crossword a group activity, so you have the help from your neighbors, figuring out how to grade and adapt activities, putting tissue boxes under the end of a tabletop bowling board, so it's easier to roll the ball down. That makes everybody can still play, and the folks that it would have been too hard for are now successful. And then getting creative, as you were just talking about, new opportunities, especially if they look similar to something that residents are familiar with already, but maybe it's done in a different way or in a new way that makes it more accessible to everybody. I mean, I think that those are exciting when you bring like new things that have some kind of element of surprise or I don't know, like you were saying, Betty, dogs, everybody loves pets when they come in. That could be a fun surprise. Knowing preferences and meeting people where they're at.
Sure. And there's so many people that live at the Cedars. How do you keep tabs on these meaningful activities and how to provide them? How do you organize that?
Yeah, well, we start with the life story. So that is a great way for both family members and staff to get involved as we get to know residents, making note of what the preferences are, and also reaching out to family members and finding out what did this person like to do before they came to Cedars? What did they like to do? What was really important to them before whatever ailment or assistance was required. So now they've come to Cedars. And, we then can provide a variety of activities, which is also important. I think if we had bingo every day of the week, we would have people who played it every day, but we would also lose quite a few people who are not interested in bingo. So looking across the areas of wellness that have been well researched and making sure that there are activities that speak to each of those areas across a week. You can't do everything in a day, but you can schedule opportunities across a longer period of time.
That's great. And can you tell me a little about how you use like expressive arts in some of these activities? You have some special innovative programs that I know you offer in your activities department. Could you talk a little about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a number of innovative programs that we do at the Cedars that I've been really lucky to be trained in and then also be able to teach other people about. One of the sort of the most accessible ones would be music and memory, which is creating personalized playlists of music for people to listen to. And I don't know if everybody realizes what a resident goes through when they leave their home and comes to a shared living space, like is typical in long-term care, but they give up a lot of their possessions. And for the generation that lives here now, that music was on record, was maybe on CDs that take up a lot of space. So music on an MP3 player like an iPod or something, it allows somebody to be engaged just in their seat listening to the music that they hold the most dear and is the most exciting and interesting to them. And one person could be listening to classical next to somebody who's listening to pop music, and they're wearing headphones. They don't bother each other or anybody else, but they could be tapping their toes, snapping their fingers, and smiling with the music, reliving memories associated with that music, and engaged. So they're not focused on missing family who are not able to be there at that moment, or those possessions they had to give up. They're not looking for something to do. They're engaged right where they are.
Great. So technology. Do you use any type of technology in your program to combat boredom?
Yes, definitely. So music and memory that's an example of technology. But the other day we were chatting around the dining room table and got to talking about people's homes, and looked up using Google Maps, looked up people's addresses and went back to their childhood homes, those who could remember the address. And that was really fun and exciting for residents to see the house that they grew up in again. Very accessible. We've also used Memory Lane TV, which is a program designed to engage people who have some kind of cognitive impairment, where there's, unlike cable television, there's no advertisements. First of all, there's no plot and cast of characters to keep current with and to remember each time they come back onto the screen. So instead, you have long shots of familiar imagery, beautiful landscapes, children, animals, the county fair, presented. In our case, we're lucky enough to have a 60-inch high-definition TV, and these images, all captured in high definition, are just very engrossing to, anybody, including staff who wander by. And we've had residents calling out for family members and just folks who have been really hard to comfort, who have been totally engrossed in some of these films, and that gives them 20 plus minutes of peace as they're enjoying these films that we have because of this technology.
That's great. And look, tell me a little about, do you get family members involved in the activities? And if you do, how do you do that?
Yeah, so I think sometimes family members are really helpful, especially when somebody first moves in, because they are, obviously familiar, they're comforting, they're trusted, and they can if they're able, help their loved one, encouraging them to join us. So we have somebody who's new right now who is a little timid about leaving her room, but when her son comes in to visit, he has scheduled his visits around activities. So he actually brings her down to the bingo game, for instance. And then maybe he's not able to stay the whole time, but he stays through that transition and encourages his mother to participate. But yeah, certainly family members are welcome to join us in activities whenever we're doing stuff. And sometimes they have expertise like gardening, and so they will help us out in our patio when we're planting the flowers in the springtime.
That's great. And what about staff? Staff encouraged to do activities at the Cedars with the residents, other than just the Department of Life Enrichment?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's great that whenever a staff person from another department can take the time to set up an activity that Life Enrichment has provided the materials for, or just sit down and talk with somebody one-on-one who looks like they're bored. I think that it's great when staff get curious about the residents and really see them as people who have lived rich lives before we've met them. And the life story does help with that, so they can get some information that can start a conversation. But I think it really is important to get curious and figure out, this person is not unhappy or bored or agitated because they have dementia, and that's all we can do about it. There are things that have caused that, and tools that we have to help relieve those symptoms. So when they can get curious and figure out or look in that life story and find out what is meaningful to that person, what their daily pleasures are, and help connect them with those things, we have better outcomes for our residents, and then better outcomes for our staff too.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for that. And so, Betty, I want to leave this with what are things that you can share with the audience about things that you've enjoyed with activities at the Cedars?
Well, I like to be busy, and I think everybody does. And everybody's friendly. You get to meet everyone. And we have a nice new lady from France. She's wonderful. And at first, I want to go home. She loves it now. She's getting used to everybody. And she's feeling better at home. Because everybody's friendly, everybody's nice. She says, everybody's nice here. I said, good. That's what we want to hear, too.
That's right. You see, helping support each person.
Because people come from far away sometimes. And it's difficult, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that. So I hope everybody's enjoyed our first episode, and think of your own experience and your own ideas for enriching residents' lives. And as you go about your day today, look for opportunities to try one of our strategies or that we just discussed. Help flip the script on boredom. And I want to thank our guest, Betty, and I also want to thank Nick for sharing your insights and experiences with us today. And I want to thank to all our listeners for joining us. Remember, together, we can make a difference in the lives of those who reside in long-term care communities. And until next time, stay informed and compassionate. Thank you.